Here we found a page torn out of the journal, and there was also a page folded between the pages. However, we don't know whether it was removed from the same place it was tucked into. It seemed to have been crumpled up before, flattened out, and folded again. The biggest difference from the previous entries is that all written in print rather than cursive. I'm in an alleyway, and the buildings look like Canterlot. It's dark and cold, but there's a candle a few feet down the alley.
I can't tell if it's into or out of the alley, but I walk towards it. I feel warm as I step into its glow, and secure in the safety it brings. The candle flickers and its wax melts as minutes pass by, and then hours, and then days, but they feel like they pass in seconds. I look around and the alley is gone, but the candle still remains. My friends step into the light, smiling at me, but they aren't alone. My family, my teachers, and practically every pony I have ever known is there, just smiling at me. They start singing, but I can't hear it. They begin to disappear in the blink of an eye, one by one, until only my friends are left. Dash and Applejack fade together, and then Fluttershy vanishes, a frown on her face. Pinkie and Rarity are still there with Spike, smiling, but they just drift away. Like the candle and I are moving away from them. The last thing I see is a face, barely illuminated by the candlelight. It stares at me, frowning, as if it's upset. Its lips part and it blows out the candle, smiling as the light fades. It's cold again, and I'm alone, but they will come back again and spread to everything, just like a virus. April 10th. The police are still investigating, but I think another pony went missing last night. No one seems to want to talk about it, but Pinkie said she overheard some of the police talking while she was making a delivery for the cakes. They didn't say who it was, but they were talking about an animal for some reason. As if some wild creature would kidnap half a dozen ponies in the dark. I tried asking her if she was playing some prank with Spike with this entry, but they both said they didn't know anything about it. I can't let all this happen without doing something, so I'm writing to Princess Celestia. It might not help a lot, but maybe having more ponies helping, or at least some more security, would do some good. I don't want to have to hear about this anymore, or to see everyone so worried and frightened. April 11th. I didn't hear back from the princess today, but at least there was no bad news today. Some ponies were even starting to walk around the town again during the day. I don't know if everyone thinks it's safe or if they just want to stay brave, but it's good to have things feel normal. I took the chance to go check on every pony. Applejack is holding up all right. She said they managed to finish all their seedings and all the ruckus hadn't hampered their plans for the harvest. She wasn't sure what was going on, but had faith that whoever was behind it would be brought to justice. Rainbow Dash was fine too, and was boasting about how she'd be ready to fight if anyone tried to take her hostage. Pinkie didn't seem shaken by things at all, but she was worried if every pony that had disappeared was still safe. She's been making deliveries for the cakes because some ponies are too frightened to leave their houses, but they seem more concerned for her than she is for herself. Fluttershy was still at her cottage, but she was more shaken than I'd expected her to be. She said that she was having trouble sleeping and that she always felt uneasy when she was alone. Rarity was stopping by to check on her too, and she seemed calm and collected, at least around Fluttershy. Rarity offered to let her stay at the boutique, but she didn't want to leave all the animals behind. It took a bit of convincing from the both of us, but she packed up her things as long as Rarity didn't mind her taking some sick animals with her. It was getting late, but I didn't want to head home without checking on Sakura. I found my way out to her hut, but the lights were off and the door was locked. I wanted to look around for her, but it was getting dark. I wasn't really worried about being attacked or kidnapped, but I just felt uneasy in the dark. I hurried home as quickly as I could, but I hope Sakura's all right. April 12th. I got a letter from the princess just after sundown. She apologized for not replying sooner, that she was tied up with royal business, but she promised to send someone down in the morning. No word on if there were any disappearances, but even if there were, I'm sure the mayor is making the police stay quiet. Maybe it is some kind of animal. I mean, there's no way any pony could avoid capture for so long, all on their own. Whoever or whatever it is, I'm sure the guards will keep everyone safe. April 13th. The investigators arrived from Canterlot this morning. There were 3 of them, and a dozen guards too. I don't know if the guards were there to help or just to keep the investigators safe, but they were needed for the latter. Reporters asking them questions and ponies pleading for the safe return of their family. Within a few hours, they were calling for a meeting at Town Hall. They were taking volunteers to help keep the streets safe at night, because the princess was more concerned with safety than finding out what had happened. I was a little surprised that so many hooves were in the air, considering how many ponies were afraid when all this started and how many sounded upset. Rainbow Dash, Applejack, and Big Macintosh were among them. I didn't know what I could do, but I had to do something, so I volunteered too. Pinkie, Rarity, and Fluttershy are staying here at the library with Spike, and it's a few minutes until sundown. It should be a lot less likely that something bad will happen with all this security. April 14th. It was uneventful until midnight. I was with Applejack and Rainbow Dash, along with one of the investigators from Canterlot named Sugarcane. I was trying to get something out of him about what's going on with the investigation or if they had any leads about who or what was behind it, but he didn't want to talk much. Applejack and Dash tried to assure me that things would be alright and to trust in the investigation, but I wasn't convinced. That's when a scream came from a few streets away. We rushed towards it as quickly as we could and arrived at the same time as 2 other patrols. There was only one guard, a broken lantern, and no sign of the others that were with him. He didn't even seem injured, just frozen in fear. Sugarcane and the other investigators were asking him what happened while one of the other guards rushed off towards the hospital. Everyone that had stayed inside was turning on their lights and trying to get a look outside to find out what had happened. The guards tried to keep curious ponies away and tell them to go back to bed, but the guard that was attacked just started rambling. He said they saw something just in the dark of an alleyway. It didn't look anything like a pony, and it was staring at them for a few moments while another guard with their lantern moved closer. He said it screeched so loudly that his ears were ringing, that it sounded like a train screeching to a halt, and it lunged out of the alleyway at them, knocking the lantern away. He said the others were gone in a moment before they could even scream, and then it just sat there, staring at him. He just kept shaking and screaming about hearing it whisper to him. A few nurses from the hospital arrived, and they took the guard off. The investigators were talking in private, trying to decide what to do, but they eventually told everyone to go back to their homes that wasn't with the police or from Canterlot. I offered to let Dash and Applejack stay at the library with me and the others, but Applejack said she'd be fine at Sweet Apple Acres, and Dash insisted she was fine on her own, even though I could tell she was a little spooked. I don't know if I should keep writing about this, but if all this stops, someone has to know, just in case whatever it is happens again. April 15th. Practically everyone is confined to their houses now, except for a few hours. The police want to keep every pony safe, if not from this thing, then at least from each other, and they're setting up lights to cover the streets during the night. I guess they think that's because it knocked a lantern away, it must not like the light. It's not too far-fetched an idea. Spike and I have been looking for any books that might have anything to do with creatures, myths, or legends, but it's starting to get late, especially considering I didn't get any sleep last night. I gotta pick up a few lanterns, oil, candles, and some food from Rarity, Pinkie Pie, and Fluttershy's places. We all agreed it would be best if we stayed here together. Maybe in the morning I'll have a chance to look into this.
Now, the validity of any further entries is still under question. While the writing is the same style as the previous entries, and there is no belief that they were written by anyone but Miss Sparkle, the contents are viewed as unlikely to have occurred, and counteract several facts about the dates listed. There are also several faint watermarks on this page, and several that follow. April 16th. I can't even believe that I'm writing, or that this is even real still.
Spike woke me up this morning while it was still dark. I wasn't really thinking why the lights that had been shining through the window last night weren't still on, but I asked him what was going on. He was a little shaken, trying to speak while he held up a clock. It was 10 in the morning, or at least 10 on the clock. It just couldn't be possible. I had to double-check, triple-check even, with the other clocks in the library, and they were all the same. I looked outside, and the sky was dark. No sun, no clouds, not even any stars or the moon. It was just black. The window was frosted, but it was warm to the touch. I wrote to Princess Celestia to see if something was wrong, but when I gave Spike the parchment, it just burned into ash. I asked Spike if he'd done it right, but he said it was the same thing he always did. I tried it again, but it did the same thing. I had no idea what was going on, and I still don't. It just doesn't seem possible. I told the others after trying to come to grips with it. Rarity and Pinkie Pie were shocked, but Fluttershy took it the worst. She was even more frightened than she'd already been, but we did our best to calm her down. She's still worried about all the critters back at her cottage, if they're safe and if Applejack and Rainbow Dash are too. I pray that they are, but there's no way to know for sure right now. We just have to hope for the best. I didn't see any pony out on the streets during the day, but there were lights on in the houses and the silhouettes in the windows, so at least everyone seems alright for now. I could even see a few brighter lights in the direction of Sweet Apple Acres and the town hall, but past that there was nothing. No candle out in the distance or any other lights. Even stranger was that anywhere dark inside was cold, but not in any way I could feel on my skin. It was like my bones were freezing and it seeped out to the rest of my body. The second I set up a candle or lantern, though, it was fine. I have them set up around the library, and we have enough extras to last a little while at least. Maybe we can find out something here, where it's safe. For now. Just the fact that it's dark would be enough, but with the unnatural cold, and the fact that Spike can't send anything to the princess, I'm worried. I'm scared. And I just want some explanation. We looked through a dozen books, but there wasn't anything about some creature that can do this. Maybe tomorrow. For now, the doors and windows are locked. It should be enough.
Breaking down slowly like all the others. I'm still here because I listened. If only they had too.
April 17th. Nothing substantial today. I read through equestrian wildlife, two-headed mythological mysteries, medieval pony folklore, and factual legend. Nothing anywhere related to this, even a little. A few lights turned off across the way. I hope they just tried to get somewhere else with others. The town hall and Sweet Apple Acres are still the brightest. Maybe there are some others at the farm with Applejack. If there are any, they'd certainly be safe with her. To make all of it worse, Fluttershy came down with a fever this morning. Luckily, Rarity and Pinkie kept her in bed for the rest of the day and helped take care of her. I just wish they didn't look just as bad, but who am I to talk? I've barely slept since the night I was on patrol, and every second that I'm awake is spent doing research. What do I even have to show for that? No clues, no leads, not even the faintest idea what is happening or making it happen. Rarity, Pinkie, and Spike have been spending their time talking and trying to relax. They sound so happy, considering everything that's happening. Maybe they have the right idea. I should take a break before bed anyway. April 18th. Fluttershy's fever seems better today, and I figured we should set up shifts to make sure everyone gets enough sleep and that nothing gets in. Fluttershy wants to help, but we told her everything should be fine without her. We'll stay awake like we normally do and spend about 3 hours each keeping watch, just in case. I volunteered to go first, just so I can keep up my research. I started going through any more legend and myth books I could find around the library, but things are starting to run dry and I don't have many other sources. Pinkie suggests looking in something like ghost goblins and ghoulish figures. I don't think looking in a book about ghost stories is going to help, but it's kind of frightening to think that it's the closest to what's actually happening. Maybe I'll give it a look before I head to bed. We took some time to talk about our families. Rarity says the Sweetie Belle is with her parents, but she's worried because she can't see their house from the library. Pinkie was more concerned about the cakes than her own relatives. She hopes they're far enough away from here that they aren't in danger. I don't even know if the rest of Equestria is experiencing this too. Canterlot will be the safest place, no matter what's happening. I'm sure Mom and Dad are safe there with shining armor. I just hope the reason the letters weren't being sent isn't that the princess is hurt. I think another light or two is going out. I hope it's just ponies trying to stay together instead of separated. Maybe I could try and get down to Sweet Apple Acres to see if Applejack and the others are alright. Though getting to the town hall might be easier considering how close it is. That's all for later, though. I need to focus now.
This next page is torn from the top right to the bottom left. It does not seem that whoever did this was trying to remove any specific information, but we can only guess as to what the rest of it says. I'll read what is left of the page.